Hi everyone, welcome back. Hope you are okay tonight. All right, seems that we don't have many attendees tonight. Okay, about 15 of you tonight. All right, it's okay. We'll just continue what we had yesterday. But before I go through with you, okay, in doing what I'm supposed to be doing with you tonight, okay, perhaps like maybe we'll have a look at a little bit on what we are supposed to be doing for our day 3. Okay, what I'm going to do tonight is, may I know that have you all ever done SBL examination question analysis before this? If you have not done it, I think it's good for you to actually do it because it helps you a lot actually, okay, in familiarizing yourself with the exams approach. So perhaps I'll go a little bit with you, the examiner's reports and the exam techniques, okay, and then before I apply the exam techniques with specimen number 2, okay, I will want to show you, okay, what should be actually done after you actually finish reading all the exhibits that we had yesterday with the September 2018, right? So as I was telling you, okay, why that we do the question analysis, okay, basically is to know the expectation of the examination, all right, getting familiar with the examination approach, right, informing you what your preparation should be and the level of effort you need to put in to pass and professional skills you need to acquire and demonstrate, and then understanding instructions and able to execute it. Okay, so this is actually an example, just an example of what you can actually do. Okay, so since we don't have much past years, okay, and I wouldn't want you to see many past years because I'm hoping that all of you actually will pass in March 2019 exam. So we only have like question number, let's say specimen 1, specimen 2, 3 in September 2018 and then December 2018. So basically you can see that when you analyze these particular questions on question number 1, you know that specimen number 1 is analyzing on industry and market. Basically it's testing you on how you are going to actually analyze the industrial and the market for this particular company. Okay, most of the students will ask whether, okay, should I actually use Porter's 5 forces or should I use any models? Well, model can actually help you to answer, just to structure your answer, but you shouldn't have mentioned about that particular model when you answer the real question. Okay, some of you, okay, were asking, ma'am, we didn't done how to construct the answer. I will do it with you after this. Let me just go through you, okay, go through with you all these particular exam techniques. Then we will go back, all right? We will go back with the September 2018 question, all right? So don't worry. So basically, when you see this, okay, still question number 1, you see that they are asking you on evaluation of overall performance like IR, okay, that is your integrated reporting, and then role and value of your NED. So these are things that you can actually find inside the questions that being tested on question number 1 for all the specimens. So you'll see that there's vast differences between the questions are being tested, all right? And what you see next is that, okay, still question number 1, okay, you'll see that they are also asking on weaknesses specimen 1. There are lesser questions in 2, 3, September 2018 and December exam. So basically here you see that there are more questions in specimen 1, all right, as compared to others, all right, for question number 1. All right, so you'll notice that some of the areas tested, these are the areas tested for question number 1. When you go to question number 2, basically if you go through, these are the areas, okay, areas that are being tested, okay. And then why I'm showing this is that to tell you that how important it is for you to be able to understand the whole of the syllabus of SBL, all right? If you don't know much about, okay, you don't know in detail about any of those particular chapter, at least you know the principles of that particular chapter, the concept. But for certain type of chapters, like I said, like governance. Perhaps you may need to have slightly in detail in terms of the technical knowledge. Okay, and in certain other areas, perhaps logical sense or common sense can help you to answer your questions. But certain areas, you may need that understanding of the technical knowledge, like project management, all right, on your PID, perhaps the structure of PID, okay. So these are the things that you may need to know the technical knowledge in detail, all right. So basically, like I mentioned to you, as you go through all this exam analysis, you are looking into the areas that are being tested. Basically, they are testing all areas. So you can't miss any of the area, but perhaps when you go through all these particular areas, okay, you will know that, okay, when it comes to strategy, to what extent the topics in the strategy will be actually discussed, all right? So just to go through with you, this is something good that you can do, okay, in every examination. Just keep up, all right? Not just for SBL subjects. I'm not talking just for SBL, but for other subjects that you're taking as well, all right? It's good for you to do the examination question analysis. Okay, examiner's report. So I think most of you have already read this, okay? You have found this inside the ACCA website. But again, just to re-emphasize, because sometimes people forget, so it's good to actually look back at this. Okay, as I mentioned to you, here my examining team did mention that knowledge is irrelevant unless it's applied to the requirement. Okay, so it means that if you know the technical knowledge, but if you don't know how to apply it in the context of the case study, then you don't get any marks. Okay, that's why it says that it's irrelevant unless it's applied. So, like what we did yesterday, okay, on the September 2018, okay, basically we are actually applying the 10 things, okay, that we learn from the September 2018 sitting. Keep requirements in mind, okay, keep requirements in mind when reading exhibits. Why is it so important? Because only then you'll be able to have active reading, and only then you'll be able to know what are the points that you can actually get from the exhibits for you to use it, okay, to answer the requirement of the questions. And then a model may not be the best structure for an answer, like I mentioned. Okay, just to reemphasize, yes, sometimes certain models may help you, but not all models can actually continuously to help you. Okay, there are times that it doesn't help you at all, because sometimes model restrict your answers. Okay, sometimes you have so many things to talk about in that particular question. You have many points to mention inside that particular requirement, all right? But because of the model that you use, sometimes you don't know where to put those particular points. So, and it restricts how you are going to answer the question. So it's good to actually use a lot of your logical sense there, okay? Remember the recipients, okay? Recipients here means the audience, okay? And make sure no long paragraphs, okay? Avoid long paragraphs. It's good to be succinct. That means short and sweet, all right? And the sentence that you have and the paragraph is actually clear. And when you answer the question, make sure you have headings. This way it says here, head paragraphs clearly. That means every point that you want to discuss, you must have your heading, all right? And every time that you answer the question, you must always say why as well as what. And in certain circumstances, you may need to have the how, all right? So have this in your mind. Let's say if you can think of what actually to write, okay, sometimes like you face difficulties to think about, oh, what professional skills that I have to use, okay? So worst case scenario, as long as you have the what, the why, and sometimes the how if you have to, all right? It will help you to actually answer and fulfill the professional skills indirectly, okay? Here it says that what's different is what's important. Okay, what it means here is that, okay, sometimes when you look at the exhibits, okay, you look at the requirements and you find that there's nothing wrong with the issues that's been mentioned there, but always remember, okay, there's always something that you should actually look further inside it, because there's always something different about it, okay? People may say that they have internal controls, but you have to look further whether that particular internal control is good or not. If you are able to see that particular difference, and that is actually very important, all right? Okay, because of that September 2018, there are figures, okay, that means the financial information that actually being there as exhibits actually comes from your knowledge of F9, all right, your financial management. So basically, you need to actually know how to analyze it, all right. So for the exhibits, especially the financial part, okay, what you may have inside the exhibits actually may come from F5. Sometimes you might have variance analysis there being tested. Sometimes you may have, trend analysis. You wouldn't know what you'll get for the exhibits. But when it comes to figures, okay, it may come from F5, F9, or F7 that you have studied. So whatever exhibits can also come from F8, for example, auditor's report. All right. So because SBL is an integrated case study, so you will have various information coming from your past knowledge. So that's where you have to bear in mind that you can't actually throw away what you have learned before. Make sure you pick it up. Don't leave it in the exam hall. Whatever that you left in the exam hall before, you better pick it up. Because why? In SBL, you need your prior knowledge. All right. Okay, here it says that skills not being rewarded can be valuable. What are the skills not being rewarded, okay, can be valuable? Okay, when it comes to this kind of skill, that means your ability to look at, okay, your critical thinking, okay, and then the way that you put your structure of answers together, okay, sometimes it may not be as significant, but it is actually very important. Because why? When you actually put your answers clearly, indirectly, it helps you with the professional marks. All right. So that's why you have to actually structure your answer carefully. And for those of you who have not actually gone to the ethics and professional skill module, or those of you who have already went through it, all right, perhaps this actually you need to recap what you have actually learned from there, because it is very crucial that you have that particular knowledge in your SBL. All right. Okay, let's just go through some of the examiner's report. This is from the last exam. It says that he can see that stronger candidates would integrate, use case study materials throughout their answers to this particular exam. That means good candidates usually will apply, okay, whatever knowledge that they have in the context of the case study. All right, they are able to select relevant technical knowledge to support and apply points they were making. All right. They demonstrated professional skill through analysis, discussion, commercial awareness, and through how they structured and presented their answers. So presenting your answers clearly is very crucial. All right. You don't want to give the markers choppy answers. Okay. You have answers here and there. You must make sure that you have the points grouped up together nicely, and it's easy for the markers to actually understand what you wrote. All right. Weaker candidates use pre-learned knowledge as basis for their answers. That means you know what your knowledge are, but you just use it, and then you are not able to actually apply it in the context of the case study. Like they mentioned, for the second, did not integrate or apply the case material adequately. All right. So here, even though you have lots of exhibits, you did not really fully utilize all the exhibits. Okay. Some seems not to have read the guidance produced by ACCA, nor worked through the specimen exam. So basically, if you have gone through all the specimen exams and have a look at the answers at the back, all right, perhaps it would actually help you to answer the examination question. Okay. So one thing that is very important that's being emphasized is that candidates must spend sufficient time reading and assimilating the case study material. All right. Why? Because if you are able to spend sufficient time reading and then assimilating the case study material, it means that assimilating and getting used to that particular case study material. Okay, you are able to know where the exhibits are and which exhibits are for which particular requirements, and at what time you are supposed to be combining your answers with information from several exhibits. That would be very good. All right. So in order for you to be able to do that, you mustn't panic. I know you will be panicking in the exam hall, but try to tell yourself to calm down, all right, and relax, because if you're not able to calm down, you'll not be able to think. All right, so it's crucial that you are able to calm yourself down. Okay, don't let yourself, okay, being panicking for too long, because it will be a waste of time, because you can use that particular time actually to spend it on reading and assimilating yourself with a case study. Okay. So here they mention that often answers fail to make sufficient reference to the material or focus too much only on one or two exhibits. That means once you have started using one exhibit, you have forgotten about other exhibits. Okay, while other exhibits actually give you the answers that can actually support the answers that you are having from another exhibits. Okay, so that's where you need to be able to see the exhibits, how it's actually integrated. Okay, things that you can do before your exam is that, okay, look at all the exhibits that you have, okay, from all your specimens and your past exams, okay. Something that you can actually train yourself. Try and look at all those particular exhibits that you have. See how those particular exhibits are actually interrelated. This need to be trained. Once you're able to see the significance and the linkages between one particular exhibits to another, okay, then you'll be able to do the same thing during your final exam. All right. Like I mentioned to you, I think the markers agree with what we have already done. Candidates should read the exhibits while keeping the requirements of each question in mind. Okay, so candidates must spend sufficient time planning. This is what I'm going to do with you after this, with your September 2018. Right? So time planning, and doing an answer plan is also crucial. All right. So I'll teach you how to do that particular answer plan. Okay, so that you will actually have shorter time to write, okay, your answers, because why, you already have your points in that particular plan. So if you were, when you answer the question, you can just refer to that particular plan, and there's no need for you to refer further to your exhibits, because why, once you have read your exhibits, you have already put all the points that you have found in the exhibits into your answer plan. Next is to just look at your answer plan and proceed with your answers. Okay, what else did they say? The most crucial is that you ensure that your answers, okay, are produced in a logical order. That means your flow of thoughts, okay, must be good. That means there's a sequence from one particular statement that you mentioned, okay, that leads to another points, and that leads to another statement that you were saying. So it has to have a storyboard. That's your flow of thoughts. All right. So it has to be logical, in logical order. All right. So in order for you to be able to do that, okay, answer plan would actually help you for that. All right. So you should be covering most of the points and avoid any unnecessary overlaps. All right. You are to read question requirements carefully, address the question that is being asked. Okay, there's a tendency that, okay, you may be, some of students may be looking only at the key points. All right, and when you look at the key points of that particular requirement, automatically that you are thinking about the certain chapters, and you write what you know about that particular chapter without actually answering the requirement of the examination question. That's the danger. All right. So this is crucial. What the marker actually notice is that the quality of some candidates' answers tail off towards the end of the exam, indicating they had run out of stamina. I kind of agree with this, because when I ask my students how do they feel when they answer the 4 hours exam question, they did mention that they get tired, all right, okay, towards the last hour, because they have already spent a lot of thinking at the beginning, and then towards the last hour, okay, they are getting tired, and sometimes they are not able to think of the points that they're supposed to be writing for the last question. Okay, especially if that last question is in the last hour of the exam. Okay, one way for you to be able to still write and give good answers is that you need to plan ahead. That means whatever points that you want to have for your answers towards the end, you need to actually have it done in advance. Okay, that's why you need to plan the answers for all the requirements before you start writing. Why do you need to put all the points there? So that that last hour when you are running out of stamina, where you are not able to think, the points that you have written in your answer plan can actually help you to answer the questions. Because why? You have put there, and without thinking already, okay, what points to put in, you already have the points in front of your eyes, and you can just start writing. Even if your answers may not be that good as compared to the other requirements, but at least you are doing something. You are answering the questions, okay, and you are tying it back to the case study. All right. I think it applies to most of the students, okay, worldwide, that the last hour is definitely exhaustive. All right. So you tend to run out of stamina, especially like us here in Malaysia. Most of the students will be sitting from 3 o'clock in the evening until 7 o'clock. All right, that's where they always have their nap time and they're tired. Okay, so I always tell them not to actually go to sleep or take a nap during those hours. You actually have to train yourself to think during those hours, and that's the hour that you have to do your mock exam. Okay, so that once you are able to train yourself to think at that particular hour, all right, you will be able to actually maintain your stamina throughout that particular 4 hours. Okay, remember, an answer plan is crucial. So again, they ask you, okay, the examining team asks you to recommend, okay, they recommend you to take mock exams before the actual exam under full exam conditions. Okay, for those of you who have already okay, already have your names inside the WhatsApp group. All right, eventually later my students will be sitting for mock exam, okay, in next week, and I'll be sharing it with you as well, and hopefully you can actually attempt it and then return that particular answer to me so that I can have a look whether you have, okay, your answers actually have met the requirements, okay, and then whether your answers actually are fit for the final exam. All right, so hopefully I can share that with you by next week. Okay, they'll be sitting for the exam on the 13th of February, so by then I can actually share you the questions, the mock exam questions. Okay, here the examiner report comments about the December 2018 exam about the technical marks. Okay, for you to be gaining technical marks, you need to address the requirements of the question, considering the scope of answer required and what question verb indicates should be provided. All right, that means you still have to go back to the question verbs, like I mentioned to you, whether it's analyze, discuss, or whatever it is. Then you need to apply it to the organization featured in the case study. Okay, worst case scenario, all right, if you are not able to actually apply it, instead of like, okay, writing the company or whatever, or the chief executive, you just mention the name of the company. Okay, let's say the DCS company cannot whatever, and then instead of saying the chief executive of the company, you say the name of that particular chief executive, probably Mr. Allen from DCS, okay, says what. All right, so just put those particular names of the company instead of you, okay, writing it generally like the company, the organization. So you put the name of that particular case study. Okay, indirectly you are trying to show that you are actually applying it in the context of that case. Okay, that's the worst case scenario. Okay, basically you will get your technical marks if if they are specific to the decision or situation covered in the question requirement. All right. So if it's not covered in the question requirement, then you will not be able to get that particular technical marks. Technical marks here means the knowledge that you are applying. All right. So basically, if it's applied, then only you get marks. If it's not applied, then you are not going to get any marks. Okay. So you will only get the marks when you show the reader why the point being made is significant in the circumstances, and then you're supposed to be demonstrating the technical knowledge or explanation of theory without application. Okay, remember, if there's no application, will not score marks in the exam. All right, there's no point of talking about a theory if you are not applying it in the context of the examination. All right. Same goes to professional skills. You really need to think about it seriously, because this one actually makes you lose your professional skill if you are not able to write, okay, and demonstrating that the way that you write actually reflects the professional skills that is being tested. Okay. Attempted to present their answers in an appropriate tone or style as requested in each requirement would actually secure you a professional marks. Okay, so basically most students who sat for the December exam showed an improvement, okay, in gaining their professional skill marks, okay, compared to those sitting in the September exam. That's what the examining team was saying. So I do think that in this particular coming March, okay, all of you will be showing a better approach for professional skill marks, and you get more professional skill marks in this particular coming exam. Okay, so many instances, candidates paid no attention to the format required. That's the problem, okay, being faced by those who failed. All right, my students who failed said that when they failed earlier on, all right, they basically did not pay attention to the professional marks, okay, especially when it comes to the format of the exam. So what they do is just they straight away answer the question without looking whether it's a briefing note or whether it is actually a report or a memo. Okay, whatever format requested, recipient will be helped by an answer that is presented clearly with headers throughout the answer. That means every answers that you have, you must have your heading. All right. So avoid long paragraphs and repetitive information. So basically, candidates need to explain points in ways that will enhance the understanding of the recipients, such as senior managers, customers, or shareholders. Okay, candidates must also address clearly what the recipient most wish to be discussed. Okay, for example, okay, like what we had in our September 2018, you notice that, okay, you have audience, you have tasks that you are supposed to be preparing, and the items that you're supposed to be discussing, make sure that it meets the requirement of that particular recipient. Okay. Candidates are reminded, okay, that they are carrying out a professional task that has a particular purposes for a defined user or a stakeholder. So what it means here is that whatever question or task that's being given to you inside that particular examination is the same thing like how you are carrying out your professional task if you are in the workplace. So that means they are, okay, that has a particular purpose for a defined user. That means you are supposed to be addressing it to someone. Okay, whoever that someone is can be the user or can be the stakeholder. So it is very important that the candidates reach technical and professional requirements together. All right, and when it comes to professional skill marks, okay, it will assist candidates to formulate their answers in a correct style, tone, and level of professionalism. All right, basically this is what you have in the reports. Okay, there are some questions here. Please, ma'am, explain in detail about different tone and style. I'm confused in these two. Okay. When it comes to the different tone and the different style, all right, you must know whom you are writing to. Okay, if you're writing to the board of directors, it wouldn't be the same as how you're going to write to your subordinates. Okay, like what we mentioned yesterday, okay, in our September 2018 questions, okay, there is one question that, okay, you have to write a memo to comment about or reverse preparation of PID. Okay, so basically when you are talking to them, okay, definitely you have to have a good tone, okay, of writing. What it means, you have to be polite. In a way, you have to be polite in the way that you write. You can't actually condemn your subordinates of not having to produce a good PID. So perhaps you may have to actually praise them first. It's very good of you to actually prepare this particular PID while there's no project manager around. So I really appreciate it. And then only then that you focus. However, okay, this PID requires some amendments in such that you need to put this, why, and then you need to have this, and why. So that's the tone that you're gonna have to, and you actually write a memo to your subordinates. But when it comes to the memo that you are going to write to the board of directors, it wouldn't be that way. Okay, it will be like a straightforward thing and strategically that you have to write in such that, okay, for example, okay, if let's say you are in a meeting, you are discussing on the internal control weaknesses, okay, and the board of directors wants to know about it, okay, so the way that you are going to write there, okay, will be in a form of, it is found that, okay, the weakness in the control system are as such. So it is good that, okay, like, okay, we should actually look at it further. Okay, like, you know, it's like you together with the board of directors are going to look into it. All right. So you are going to have it, okay, look at together instead of just now when you talk, when you write to Oliver, your junior staff, you are talking about you. In this case, it's we or our organization. All right. So our company needs to look at this seriously, because why? We are actually in a board meeting. So it is a job of the board of directors to actually look into the whole system of the internal control. So it's either you use we or our organization. All right. So that's the kind of tone that you may have when you write. I hope that answers your question. So as we did, this is a case overview, like I mentioned to you, we have done it together. So the only thing that we have not done together is actually looking at the answer plan. All right. So that particular answer plan, okay, I will show it to you, okay, what I have in my answer plan, but your answer plan may not be the same. Okay, you may have your own type of answer plan, right? As long as it helps you to answer your questions, then it's good enough. A good answer plan will actually expedite your time in answering that particular question. Okay, so hopefully we can have a look at that after this. Okay, remember this is the SBL time management. Your total time is 240 minutes. I think I did mention this earlier. 4 hours exam. Okay, good answers requires good planning. Okay, so your maximum time that you are going to spend for your planning should only be about 60 minutes or 1 hour. That's the most that you should go for. Okay, not more than that, because you need the other 3 hours to actually write your answer. You must remember, okay, answer plan actually help you with your flow of thoughts on what to write first, what to write next, and after that, and when to conclude. All right. So it's good to start your planning within the 40 minutes first. All right. Maybe if you have to exceed 40 minutes, at most you go is 60 minutes. Don't go beyond that. Okay. Try your best to practice it with your mock, okay, before you actually sit for your final exam. It's good to train yourself to actually do the planning within 40 minutes. At most you go for is 60. So use your mock exam questions that you may find in BPP or in your Kaplan, all right? Okay, to train yourself in doing this particular answer plan. Okay, answer plan would actually include you to start with reading your overview, reading your requirements, and look at your exhibits. By the time that you have all your points inside your exhibits, that's where you're going to put all your points inside your answer plan. Okay, perhaps you can actually look into how you are going to synthesize those points together. So you may have your notes there, what you're going to do with those points, everything inside your answer plan, so that when you start writing, okay, you'll be able to write smoothly. Okay, I hope that helps you. Okay, remember, okay, the total marks for content is only 80 marks. That means you are able to actually spend more time to actually write, because the other remaining 20 marks is actually professional marks, which is actually embedded inside the way that you are going to write for your that 80 marks. So sort of like if you write well for your 80 marks, indirectly you get a bonus of another 20 marks. Okay, that's what professional skill is all about. So if you take 40 minutes planning time, so it takes you 2.5 minutes per mark, okay, per point that you are writing. So that would give you an ample time to answer all those particular questions, all right? As we did together yesterday, okay, you are reading your case background to understand, you review the exhibits, okay, and then you move on to active reading, identify links to tasks, annotate and highlight key points. That means every time that you read your requirements, like I showed you yesterday, okay, how I annotate with lots of colors. I know you can do that in your exam. You only have like what? Your black pen. At most that you have your pencil, all right? But if you can use highlighters to help you actually to annotate your final exam question, why not? Okay, as long it doesn't affect your 40 minutes time. Okay, keep on changing the color of the pen. Sometimes, you know, it takes time. So like me, I have ample time because I don't sit for the exam, so I can actually do it with lots of colors. That one is just to help me to actually show it to you how it should be done. So as you annotate highlights, you add your notes to your answer plan. Okay, read and annotate the requirements to identify what you are being asked to do, especially your role, the format, and the audience, the verbs, marks allocation, professional skill, and any model or framework that will help you to identify points. Okay, sometimes models may help you to identify points, but sometimes models doesn't help you at all. I think I did mention to you, one of my good students who actually scored for the last exam, he got 86 for SBL. So I was kind of surprised because I never gave him that high marks for SBL, because I always keep some marks, okay, with me. If he wants to claim it, he has to claim it from me. So what he said, okay, is a good thing that, okay, I managed to actually get some input from him, how he's able to score for that. Okay, he only one thing is that, okay, he said that I really make sure that my answer plan was good. Okay, as I annotate, I put it inside my answer plan, all the points, okay, and then I try to link those points together while doing that particular planning. And by the time that I start writing, it is a smooth kind of writing. And when I write, I remember the what, the why, and the how. Okay, so that's the thing. And for me, I go for 1.2 marks instead of 1 point only one mark. So that's the thing that he mentioned. So it's so crucial for you to have that good answer plan. Okay. Okay, after we have finished with that particular September 2018, perhaps that we will look into after that, okay, today and tomorrow. If we have time for this, we'll go. If we have time today to finish off the whole specimen 2, perhaps we'll do it tonight, and I will actually continue it tomorrow. All right? Okay. So let's have a look at what I have for you for the answer plan. Okay. is for the SBL September 2018. Remember last night that we have already read through, we have like gone through the exhibits, we have annotate. So basically what I put inside my answer plan is what I have already done there. Okay, like for question number 1. Okay, question number 1 is actually a format. So I just put here is a briefing paper. So basically this is what I'm going to have as for my heading. All right. And then I can also have it in this form. All right. It's either I have it like this. Okay. Here with the to, from, and subject, or I can have it as heading briefing paper, and then I have for attention of whom? Board members. Okay. Board members. Okay. Right. So I put down here the exhibits that I referred to 1 and 2, and then professional skill are the analysis skill. This is for the requirement number 1. Then under number 1A, right, talks about what? 2 things, financial issues. Okay. Financial issues, and then after that, I have the non-financial issues. So what I did is that I just put a little bit of, my understanding on those that may affect financial issues, okay, in terms of the technical knowledge, all right. Basically, it will be triple constraint that may cause financial issues. This is from my reading of about project management, all right. Basically, that actually appears, okay, in my head. So I don't know whether I'm going to use the whole of this particular triple constraint, but I may need to have a look at the case. Since we have already looked at the case, okay, there are some points that are related to this. So that's the reason why I put it in. So you'll be what? Cost overrun. Okay, that means remember your triple constraint is your cost, all right? Your time, and then your scope, all right? Or your scope, your time, or your cost, okay? Let's say if you have a scope and you have already identified, specify what kind of things that you're going to do, but if let's say people ask you to do more than what you have agreed on, that's what scope creep is. That means you are going to revise the things that you're going to do, all right? And that will be more expensive. Okay, slippage here will be time. You have beginning time, end time, and sometimes if you keep on extending the time, that's what we meant by slippage, all right? And cost overrun, that's how much you have budgeted, but you have actually spent more. Why you spend more? Because of the scope creep. Then the slippage, because of the time that you have wasted, you may incur cost overrun. So basically, this is the technical technical knowledge that I have in mind about, okay, financial issues that may affect this particular project. All right. So you need to bear in mind, right? The requirement of the question is now is actually asking you to look at analyze the financial and non-financial issues that will affect the final decision of whether to accept the contract to build the road in Beetle. So basically, this is what my answer plan is. So after I've read and after we have read together last night, all right, these are the things that I found. Okay, there's a return 9.5%, exhibit number 3, okay, and that in exhibit number 1 they did mention about, okay, how this particular board, okay, agrees on a return of 8%, more than anything that's more than 8%. All right, so maybe you can refer back to that particular exhibit, okay, which relates to tendering. Okay, so at least when I put this down, I know that I can already explain about my first financial issues of the return 9.5%, and this 9.5%, okay, from that particular exhibit 3, okay, is actually more than 8%, okay, which the board is considering as by specifying a minimum profit margin of 8% for most projects. So since they already have like more than 8%, so basically this particular project is actually acceptable. Okay, so another issue is that under this exhibit number 1 as well, on the chairman's statement, they did actually mention about how, okay, they got the first profit from Althea project after the losses that they have incurred for the last 3 years. So I may want to put this as well, because why? This may affect their future projects, something that they have to look at, all right, and learn from this. So that's why I put this particular point, because this is financial issues. And talking about the cost of project, okay, when you look at the exhibit number 3, they have a lot of costs, and you find that there are times that they receive the revenue that is lesser than the cost that they have incurred. So they might be underestimating some of the costs, and there would be a possible loss in the future and may affect some cost overrun. So basically, this is something that they have to actually, financial issues that they have to actually consider before making the final decision. Okay, that will affect the final decision. So then we talk about financing the project. Let's say if they have to incur a lot of costs for the project, they might have to go for that financing, all right? Why debt financing? I think you read about the Ministry of Transport in Vital saying about how they are going to guarantee that particular debt financing, all right? So there's chances of project slippage take longer time, okay, because of no experience, and it's the mountain area. This is perhaps something that I want to talk about when I want to write the issues, the financial issues. Okay. So the non-financial issues that I may want to write about will be the scope of work to build road may not be as planned, because why? Previously, okay, they have done it in the flat area, and now they are doing it in the mountain area. So that means the scope of work to build the road can be more compared to when they did the flat road in Althea and in O'Maglan. So I may need to put that inside my write-up after this, but these are just the points to actually help me to write. So because of that mountain area, so they don't have experience, they need experienced workers who have been actually constructing roads at the mountain area. Okay, these are non-financial issues. So system to help CC to monitor project, because as it is now, the site smart that they are doing has not taken off yet. It's in another 2 years, which they're supposed to be using this particular site smart to help them what? Manage their resources, right? So because it's not there yet, so as it is now, they did mention that they face problem that they cannot deploy business resources effectively. That may happen as well for this particular contract with Vital, all right? So again, the environmental issues, even as it is that when they actually built the road in Althea and O'Maglan, they do have issues with the community, okay, that is living actually, sorry. Give me a minute. All right, thank you. Okay. When it comes to the project in Althea, okay, like like they are having experience sorry, the communities that lives near the mountain in the flatland are also affected by the construction. What more to say, the communities living near the mountain and the construction site, okay, they're talking about the habitats, the environmental footprint, okay, so these are the kind of issues that they may have to actually look at, all right? So once I have this plan, okay, putting all this in, so it will be easier for me to actually write my answer, okay? So part B is about difficulties CC face in fulfilling criteria, exhibit number 2. Low cost, environmental footprint, take short time to build, because why? The criteria spelled out by the Minister of Transport is that, okay, they want to choose contractors who are able to give them low cost. They also talk about, okay, contractors must actually care for the environmental footprint. They must not be actually leaving too much of environmental footprint. So that means contractors must actually care for the habitats of some species living within that particular construction site, and then the villages around that particular mountain site. Okay, and then it says that they want this contractor to be able to build, okay, the road in a short period. However, you have to bear in mind that, okay, this particular CC do actually face problem of wasted time, isn't it? When you read in the exhibits number 1. So you may want to actually write about this, okay? You're supposed to discuss the pro and cons of this, discusses the difficulties. So when it comes to this, okay, this is actually your answer plan for number 1. So how do you think that this would actually help you to write? Any question so far? Are you clear on this? Okay, you're asking, do we have to give subheadings as well under the heading of financial and non-financial issues in order to explain while answering? If, let's say, you are able to break it into different and separate points, it's good to have it, all right? But if you're not able to do it, it's enough for you to actually have it in short paragraph for each points that you want to explain. Okay, both are acceptable, right? So are you okay with this particular answer plan? Any question? Okay, there's another one here. Can send you the answer plan and yesterday discussion. Okay, yes, of course I will do that. May I know when we start to write answer plan? Is it when start reading the question? All right. When are you going to start doing your answer plan? So basically, you will have your answer booklet with you in your exam hall. All right. And then you will also have another separate paper that is your question paper. So it's good that you can get ready your answer plan while you were reading your requirements. All right, you already start, like, at least jot down a heading, answer plan, question number 1 inside your booklet. It's okay to have it inside your booklet for the answer plan. All right, and then later on at the back, okay, that's where you're going to have your answer. So you just put a note there, answer plan, and then once you are done with the answer plans, then you start your, okay, answering the questions. All right. I'll be sending you, all right. Okay, don't worry. I'll be sending you this particular answer plan as well to help you. Okay, if it helps you, but doesn't mean that your answer plan have to be exactly the same like mine. All right. It depends on how you think and how you're going to actually put your answer, and depending on what other points that you are able to get from that particular exhibits. Okay, some of you might find a different point. Some of students, when you discuss with another friend of yours, you might see a different point. It's okay. All right, both points are considered as points that you can actually use to answer the question, as long as you put it in the context. Okay, I hope that helps you. Okay, so what you will do is that exactly like what I have. Okay, you will have like answer plan for exhibits for question number 1, and after that 1A, 1B, and then after that followed by your answer plan for question number 2. That is your skepticism skill. Okay, this is what I put here, and I also have here up here. Okay, talking about uh, analysis skill for A, but I didn't actually put it down. Okay, it's okay. Okay, but for B, it's communication skill. Communication skills is easier to satisfy, all right, as compared to skepticism, all right. And same goes to your other skills. It's quite easy for you to satisfy that skills, okay, as compared to your skepticism, because skepticism requires a skills where you have to actually question, okay, you have to probe, you have to question, and you have to challenge that particular existing points, okay, or existing scenario that you have inside the exhibits. So here what I put here is that, okay, under number 2, under my plan, I have skepticism skill. I put here memo to Oliver, junior staff, must tell him what is lacking in his PID. This is what critically evaluates out, okay, means, okay, so you are going to critically evaluate outlines content in PID, okay, so in order for you to be able to do that, like I mentioned earlier, you need to actually know the criteria of a good PI, a good PID. Basically, a good PID will be having purpose, objective, assumptions, stakeholders, constraints, project personnel, project monitoring, quality, and communication. All right. So I'm not expecting that you are going to have all this inside there if you have time, but as long as you're able to have the main elements for your PID inside there is good enough. All right. So basically purpose, objective, assumptions. Okay, you're talking about constraints, your project personnel, okay, and monitoring. So from that particular exhibits that you have, that comes from the junior staff, which is actually coming from your exhibits number 4, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, okay, where they only have project aims and background, okay, but your staff tip possess, they only have the project aims and background, operational issues, and then personnel and responsibilities. So he doesn't have that particular criteria of a good PID. So this is where you are going to critically evaluate. If you say critically evaluate, okay, you must make mention what is actually lacking, okay, and what actually should be there, and why those particular purpose should, for example, okay, like here they have project aims and background, all right, basically, okay, you need to have some purpose, all right, so he's lacking in that. So what you will say is that, okay, why you need the purpose, okay, so just put it there. First is what is the things that's lacking, okay, why that without this particular if they are lacking in purpose, what will be the consequences, all right, so in order for them to actually avoid that particular consequences of not having a purpose, okay, they must actually have a purpose, then you explain why, right, so that's what skepticism is. You have to actually mention to them, okay, what is it that is actually lacking. Only if that they have this particular criteria, only then that they will know the purpose. So that is actually basically the skepticism. Okay, so you must mention what's lacking and what they need to have and why they need to have it. And if it's lacking, okay, what will be the possible implication if they are lacking in certain criteria. Okay, so that's actually the approach of skepticism. And also they talk about, okay, summary of the operational issues in PID. So you may want to look into, all right, because under the summary of the operational issues, okay, basically you are going to actually focus on time constraint, cost constraint, and the risk. So what is it that actually under the summary of operational issues that actually are not mentioned inside this particular uh, summary of operational issue section prepared by Oliver? Okay, if let's say they are not, they do have risk, but remember, if they don't tie this particular risk to the risk in the exhibits number one, then it might not be making any sense. All right. So these are the things that you may want to actually highlight and critically evaluate. Then you recommend your improvement. Okay. If let's say you're talking about improvements, if I will mention immediately after critically evaluating the PID and summary, saying what's the consequences, things like that. Okay, what will happen if they don't have a good PID? Okay, so I have to be writing it in the context of CC. All right, it has to be tied up strictly to CC. So I need to mention CC a lot, and I need to mention why is it important for CC if actually Oliver don't do that. Okay, and only if Oliver do this, that I will only actually, okay, get something out of it. So you will be recommending of what should actually be amended. All right, so basically, okay, it comes together after you have critically evaluated both. All right, and then you just recommend that particular improvement. I hope that's clear with all of you. Any questions so far? I hope you all are clear outside there. Okay, and then you'll have another one. Under question number 3, this is what I have. I'll just jot down. Okay, basically you have to draft it. You write it in the, you have to write it, okay, because to show you how it is being done. So I type it here. Okay, and the question number 3 is just a memo. It's just like an ordinary memo. Okay, this one is confidential memo. You just, instead of just putting memo, you put your heading as confidential memo. The rest should be the same. All right, so that's what it is. So what are you supposed to be discussing is that, okay, you are supposed to be discussing on the ethical concern and reputational concern. That's what you have in your question number 3A. All right, you're supposed to be this, okay, which discusses ethical and reputational concerns raised at the meeting. So basically, you need to refer to the exhibits number 5, if I'm not mistaken, for this. All right, yes, exhibit number 5, a transcript of an emergency meeting. Okay, that's where you need to, as you read through this particular conversation, you need to be able to interpret what they are talking about. All right, so your points inside here may not be as clear. Okay, it needs practice actually to be able to interpret conversations. Okay, what those particular conversation means. Okay, for example, all right, when you look at Ellen saying that, okay, when the question was asked, were there only 2 security staff on site? And Ellen answered, yes, the contract only states that the security post should be manned at all times. So if that shows what? That shows that there's something lacking in the internal control system. Okay, why? Because there was, why only 2? Isn't it supposed to be like, more? But Ellen just mentioned that just because that the contract says that it should be manned at all times, but they did not mention how many. All right, so that perhaps why, okay, in terms of this particular security, they are lacking in that sense. All right, so you should be able to read, okay, what that particular conversation means. For example, Ellen said the security staff said that they had reported it to their managers, but no one from Shaolin Security appears to have contacted us. What does that mean? There's some kind of monitoring problem here because you subcon that security to someone else, to a company. So when problems arises, okay, you should actually know the problem, and this particular security company should have notified you. All right, they should have notified CC, but they have not done it. So there must be something lacking there. Is it on your side or on the other side? So basically, it's on your side, because you need to have a proper procedure between your relationship between that particular security company, because now you are the agent and that particular security company is actually your principal, so they have to fulfill your needs. So this is basically is lacking here. So when you read these particular interviews, you need to be able to interpret it. All right. So these are the skills that you need to actually learn. It's not going to be easy. All right. But you need to learn how to do that. All right. Okay, the format of briefing paper and memo are the same. It's more or less the same. It's just that okay, your heading is not the same. All right. So to make it like clear that one is a memo and another one is a briefing paper, all right, it's good for you to actually have it. Okay, your heading a briefing paper and another one is a memo. So basically, when you have a memo, all right, you usually refer to the recipient as you. All right. So briefing paper usually is just a points that you have to put down there. That usually briefing paper are points that you actually wants to discuss in a board meeting. All right. So it cannot be too lengthy and it has to be actually brief points but make sense. Okay. So you cannot actually write long paragraph. Briefing notes shouldn't actually be more than 2 pages. Okay. Sometimes it's only 1.5 pages is enough. So writing too long means it's no longer a briefing note, it becomes already a full report. All right, so you need to know that particular difference. So that's why you notice that just now when I went through with all of you on the examiner's report in 2018 talking about that how you should actually avoid long paragraphs. Okay, for those of you outside there who doesn't have any actually working experience, okay, it's good that you have to actually imagine that while you are doing your SBL, you are actually at work. All right. So basically, these are the tasks that are actually being given to you at workplace. But perhaps for you, those of you who have got that experience, it will be easier for you to actually differentiate between what a memo is or a briefing note or a report or letter is all about. So it's something that you do every day. So actually you can apply it in the context of answering the examination question using your experience of doing all those particular reports or memos in the context of the exam. All right. Okay. So basically, this is what I've jotted down for the ethical concerns, which we have already taken from the exhibit. So I put down here the ethical concern, okay, where they did mention about us, okay, CC to listen to lawyers' advice, okay, pertaining to protesters' injury. If not, CC may make wrong statement. But here you may want to also look at how, okay, CC Sport is expected to be honest and avoid false claim, but it seems that from that exhibit number 5, okay, the chief executive's attitude, okay, doesn't seem to show that he wants to actually be as honest as he should be. All right. So this is something that you can actually point out, okay, the ethical concerns. And then another one is how he's talking about clearing the site of the incidents, okay? So it's not ethical. So this is something that you may want to raise as well. And then if you still remember what he mentioned, like when he had a meeting with the staff to make them agree with him, okay, on the kind of statement that he's trying to make and proposing a payment of bonus to make them if they actually agree with what he said. So this is This is ethical concern, whereby they shouldn't actually have, the chief executive should have not made this particular, I would say, proposal to the staff. It's like saying that, okay, you are saying to your friend, okay, if I were to say this to her, make sure that you also say the same thing to her. You see, so this is something that's not supposed to be done by the chief executive. Okay, so it's about the lighting at the construction. Okay, the lighting itself is actually risk, but at the same time it becomes ethical concern is because they want to lead the construction site before internal auditor come in. So that is not appropriate. Even when there is auditor coming in, or even there is auditor not, even if the auditor not coming in, they should actually have lead that particular construction site. Okay, it should be bright, and it shouldn't be a dark place. All right, so it is basically have been highlighted by the health and safety manager, but as a chief executive, Button has actually not taken it seriously. So that is the ethical concerns that you may want to raise here. Reputational concern talks about the consequences of the accidents, okay, in terms of bad publicity, damaged reputation, possibility of them becoming, okay, labeled as unreliable contractor, and chances that they may not be getting the anymore future tender to be roads there in Beetle. All right. And then another concern will be the attitude against what has been mentioned in the annual report. Okay, the chairman mentioned how they get engaged with the community affected by their programs, but it seems that they are not doing the same thing. Okay, at in Beetle. All right. So there are protesters, but the chief executive doesn't care, okay, of meeting them. So these are the kind of reputational concerns that you may actually want to raise. So the next thing will be the 3B is a summary, okay, where you are going to be tested on evaluation scale. Okay, a summary means you are going to simplify it, all right? It's a summary. Perhaps you may want it to be in a form of a table, a summary in what kind of summary? The summary that they want is you're supposed to be assessing the control weaknesses, all right? The consequences and the recommendation. So you may want to identify the type of control, what is it? The weakness of that particular control, okay, the consequences of it, okay, that's the why, and recommendation. Okay, how you are going to actually overcome that particular weaknesses. So basically, if you want to have this particular summary in a form of like tabular, all right, like you divide it into 4 columns, you have type of control, weaknesses, consequences, or recommendation. You can also do that, all right? Or you may want to have like, break it into type of control. Then you mention about the weaknesses, consequences, and recommendation. You can also do that, all right? It's either you do it this way, or you may want to actually do it like type of control. Under it, you will have the weaknesses, then you talk about the consequences, or then you talk about the recommendation. So it's up to you to actually show how your summary looks like, okay? So if let's say it's easier for you to actually look at summary this way, then by all means do it that way, okay? Because you are asked to do a summary, okay? So summary is simplifying whatever that you have found. So this is how you're going to do it, all right? So basically, what are the type of control that you have already actually identified from that exhibits? Okay, 5, security at construction site, not enough. security firm not communicating, that's what I put. Okay, oil spill, because why? There's incidents of the protesters who broke in, okay, fell down, okay, and then talking about the lighting. All right. So basically, these are the things that you want to actually highlight. And then finally, there's part C that you have. This is a briefing paper. You are supposed to be advising the board. All right. Advantage for CC having separate risk committee. Okay. So this is basically giving a reason why CC should actually have a separate risk committee. As it is now, CC is actually not having a separate risk committee. So who is actually doing that particular job for CC? So at the moment, when you look at exhibit number 1, it seems that the audit committee is actually overseeing the risk of CC, whereby audit committee do have other jobs, and most of the time that they are more concerned with the financial accounting and internal audit work. All right, as most of them are having actually accounting and finance background. Okay, so because of this, right, they need to have people who are more focused in looking at risk, and that's the reason why, okay, you should be saying that they need to have a separate, okay, having risk committee, because having a separate risk committee, the risk committee would be able to focus on the risk that is actually affecting CC. What else can you do? You can also mention about how those risks, okay, can actually be addressed faster. Why? Because audit committee only meet 3 months, but risk needs to be addressed as soon as possible. So when you have a separate risk committee, so the risk committee, okay, the advantage that CC will get is that the risk committee will be able to actually address risk issue faster. And if they are foreseeing that the risk is actually materializing, they are able to actually address that issue and able to come out with mechanism to mitigate that particular risk. So this is what you should actually be mentioning about the advantages of having a separate risk committee. The final slides, the final slide, the final question that we have is actually question number 4, asking you to actually prepare 2 presentation slides. Okay. So you are actually supposed to be helping whom? Helping Burton. Why this slide is actually supposed to be for Burton to be presented at the next board meeting. So you are preparing it on his behalf. Okay. So basically you need to actually be clear on what is required. Okay. So 2 presentation slides with accompanying notes. The slide should be actually discussing on the cost benefit. Perhaps you can have it in slide number 1 to discuss cost and benefit, okay, of investing in big data analytics, right? And then the next thing to do is actually slide number 2 is to evaluate possible opportunity, okay? So the things that you may want to put inside your slide, okay, perhaps you may want to talk about, okay, the available data that is easy to get for CC. So you may want to elaborate on that, and you have to actually relate the kind of data that is easily available for CC if they actually invest in big data analytics. Okay, so it has to be directly explained in the context of CC. And you may also explain that if CC were to invest in this, okay, investing in big data analytics might not be cheap. All right, it is actually a costly investment for CC. So why? Because it requires a lot of money, definitely. So because of that particular reason, all right, they may need to consider of finding funding for that. So this is something that you may want to actually mention, okay, for the cost and benefit. So you may want to relate that how they are able to manage the operation with the site smart they're going to have in the future, which can actually be integrated with data analytics, where they will be able to see how, okay, the roads are functioning, okay, in the 3 countries. All right, because why they're talking about infrastructure management of roads in Omegaland, Alpha, and Bethel. That means in the 3 countries. Okay, so if they are able to have data, that means this particular data are able to capture the scenario, okay, on how the road or the transportation is actually in all these particular countries at the same time. So at least they are able to actually, you know, send any, if there are accidents, they are able to actually see from the data that's actually that they actually get from this particular big data analytics. So basically, there is big data analytics is where you are able to get a lot of information from this particular data. Okay, it may tells you on the progress of the traffic flow at every direction in the 3 countries. So if they know the traffic flow, they are able to actually do something about it. If there are traffic jams, they are able to do something about it. So you may need to put a little bit of your logical sense, okay? Things that you actually face every day when it comes to road transport. Something that you can add in a bit. Why? Because inside the exhibits, they are only giving you some general thing about it, okay? About this particular uh, infrastructure investment, I think, sorry, infrastructure management. All right, they didn't actually mention to you in detail what it is all about. So basically, you can actually add on a little bit of your logical sense here. Okay, so in most countries, okay, you will definitely have, okay, a body that actually manage the traffic, okay, flows, okay, for your countries, so they're able to actually report which areas are congested, which area are smooth. Okay, if let's say there are accidents, which are the road that you are supposed to be, you know, taking to avoid the accident. So with the big data, you'll be able to do that. Okay, so basically that will help them with the use for the infrastructure management. Okay, I thought, and when it comes to cost, definitely it's not cheap. So this is something that you may want to actually put inside. Why you say it's not cheap? Because you need to have some funding. Okay, it has to be a huge investment, because why? They have already actually invested basically in the construction of the road. So now and now they need to think about uh, investing in the infrastructure management. All right, so this is something that is not cheap. How are you all getting along outside there? I hope you all are okay. Okay, the slide number 2. Slide number 2 talks, okay, is evaluating the possible opportunity of infrastructure management. Okay, so basically, we are going to evaluate the possible opportunities. You may want to look into the service development that they're having. Okay, they want to have more presence in these particular 3 countries. Okay, in fact, they have been building roads for them. So basically, this is an extension to the service, okay, that they have. Instead of just constructing road, perhaps they want to help them with managing that particular infrastructure. Okay, that is actually an opportunity. However, okay, providing this particular service developments requires them to get the trust from these particular countries, okay, which they have not actually had that trust yet to actually manage this. So even though there's a possible opportunity, so this is something they have to be aware of. All right, and You may also want to actually talk about how you're going to actually tie it up with the reputation just now, okay, of the incidents. So another one will be, this is a good long-term source of income for actually for CC. Okay, you need to mention directly about CC here. Okay, and then with the infrastructure management opportunities here, okay, basically you are able to actually estimate, okay, a much more reliable cost for maintenance. So these are the things that you may want to write, okay, on these issues, on discussing the possible opportunity to undertake the long-term infrastructure roads in the three countries. Okay. So evaluates means what? You're supposed to be, what are you supposed to be doing when you evaluate? You're supposed to be mentioning the evidence, case point, and issue to support your evaluation. All right. So any questions so far? Are you all okay? I hope you are. All right. I hope this has been helpful for all of you. Okay. I'll be sharing this with all of you. Okay. Let's go back to our answer plan number one just now. Right. Let me just put down here. Hope you're able to see it. Okay. How do you think that I'm going to write this down? You have your points. Okay. I'm not going to do everything, but at least I just show you some. Okay. How I should actually be writing on it. All right. And this particular question, is actually testing you on analysis skill. And in the analysis skill, okay, basically you're supposed to be investigating, all right, and then you're supposed to be inquiring, and you should consider, okay, show element of consider here. So how are you going to put these particular points together so that you are able to, okay, demonstrate this particular analysis skill on top of the format that you have, all right, on top of the format that you have. Okay, so format, definitely you will have your skills, all right, it will be part of the skills. So what about the way that you're going to write? How are you going to write? Let's say we're going to write this particular first point first, the return. How are you going to write that? Okay. One of the financial issues is that, okay, the return for this construction of road in detail would give CC a return of 9.5%. Is as acceptable. Why do I say that this return is considered as acceptable? Because when you refer to the exhibits, all right, when you look back to the exhibits did mention that, okay, in exhibits number 1, okay, under your tendering, okay, it does mention here that the board is considering specifying a minimum profit margin of 8% for most of the projects. Okay, so CC requires a stream of successful bids and projects to deliver value for shareholders. So this return is actually considered as acceptable for CC to because the board has specified minimum profit margin of 8, oh dear, 8%. So in this case, okay, this project gives return that is 1.5% above the minimum. Okay. Okay. How in the place that I'm saying that I have already applied the analysis skill? Analysis skill is actually when I mentioned about 9.5. I should actually mention here, okay, refer to exhibit. It's good if you can have, like, you know, refer to exhibit. Okay, 3. Or you may want to do some calculations. How did I get 9.5%? It was actually, you know, 2,000 over 21,000. All right, I get this point. Okay, 9.5%, which we have calculated last night. All right, so you may want to put it here. Okay, refer to exhibit 3 or refer to whatever calculation that they have done. Okay, if it's good if you can actually have your calculation. Okay, this part is actually telling you that you have done your investigation, because why, you have been referring to certain exhibits. All right, so that's an element of investigation. And at the same time as well, you did mention about this particular acceptable minimum profit margin from exhibit number 1, for instance. Okay, so basically if I were to put here, okay, refer to exhibit 1, okay, under tendering. So I would actually get more marks for that. Why? I am actually cross-referencing. All right. So basically, this is actually how I got those particular evidence. Okay. So this return is considered as acceptable for CC to deliver the value for shareholders because the board has specified a minimum profit margin of 8%. So this is basically putting all the evidence together. So in this case, this project gives return that is 1.5% above the minimum. All right. So So if, let's say, this is the only consideration that I made, that I may want to actually accept this particular project, okay? Any question on this? Okay, you're talking how do you know what content to write? Okay. In order for you to know what content to write, all right, basically when it comes to making decisions, there's always something that you have to fall back to. You must have your facts and your figures, all right, to help you in your decision making. Okay, when it comes to analysis skills, okay, you need to have some information that help you to make some analysis. So that's where you need to refer to exhibits. If you have figures, it will be figures. If you don't have figures, it will be words that you can actually analyze. All right. So analyzing words is much more difficult, I would say, as compared to analyzing figures. All right. Because analyzing words requires you to have that interpretation skills. Okay. You need to have that. Okay. So in this case, okay, how do I know that, okay, I may want to write on this 9.5% return? Because the exhibit that was actually being given to us yesterday, okay, let me see whether I still have it here. I would think so, right? All right, let me open this, okay. This one. A simple analysis. Once you get this particular kind of information, they're talking about what? Forecast revenues and costs, right? This is forecast revenues and costs for construction, new road in Beetle. So basically, this is related to what the question wants. All right. So the financial issues that I can find from this particular analysis is that I can see, all right, this is the total revenue, and this is actually the total cost. All right. So the total revenue is actually slightly more than the total cost. So that's why I have this calculation over here. Okay. I have this calculation over here. Okay. That gives me 9.5%. So what is so significant about it? Because just now I've read that in exhibit number 1, okay, that under tendering, if you still remember, under tendering, you see, the board is considering specifying a minimum margin of 8% for most projects. So basically 9.5% is actually an acceptable project. Why are they specifying it? Because CC requires stream of successful bids and projects. Why? They want to deliver value for shareholders. So basically, you know that shareholders would want some return. And remember that they did mention up here, okay, I think, right. You see? So if you still remember this particular part here, this part, the first increase in dividend for the 3 years, that means it says here that the shareholders has not been enjoying much of dividends for the last 3 years. Okay, this is the first increase in the 3 years. So definitely, all right, in giving the value to the shareholders, if let's say they get a project that is actually higher than 8%, that would be very good for them. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay. So you were also asking, okay, so need to know all about, say, data analytics beforehand. Whatever knowledge that you have learned in your SBL, the topic areas that you learn in your SBL, you need to have that particular knowledge at the back of your head. All right? Because why? There are times that okay, you need to use this particular knowledge to help you in answering the questions, especially those that are technical, which you can actually use common sense. Okay, when you talk about data analytics, the function of data analytics, okay, you need to know the purpose of why it is there. And only then, once you know what data analytics is, then you are able to apply your logical sense in applying how in your daily activities that data analytics would actually help you. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, you want a smart home, yes, definitely you must actually invest in data analytics. Okay, where as you enter into your house, okay, you reach the porch, that means the lights is on, and then as you go out from the car, then the car locks by itself, and then as you move on to your door, the door opens by itself the moment that it sense you coming, you know. So this is basically, you need to know the purpose of data analytics first. Then once you know the technical knowledge about data analytics, then it's easier for you to actually apply your logical sense there. All right. If we mention refer to exhibit 3 in our bullet points, is it necessary to mention it again in the explanation paragraph? Okay. Basically, when I mentioned just now, when I put down, sorry, where was it? Okay. So you were saying if we have mentioned refer to exhibit 3 in our bullet point, all right, is it necessary to mention it again in the explanation paragraph? Okay, let's say you have done this earlier, all right, there's no need for you to actually mention it again as you explain, all right? So unless, okay, you have not done your calculation, like here, I need to do my calculation actually, that's to show that how I got my 9.5%, okay? So basically you need to have it. Okay, as I mentioned here, calculation here is actually from 2 over 21, all right, times 100%. That's where I got this 9.5%. This one is much better, it's much clearer if I were to put it here. All right, so basically this is the sentence that you may want to have. Okay, what would be other sentence that you may want to write? Basically you will have like, okay, the next point that I have here is the possible losses. All right, okay. Okay. All right. You're saying, ma'am, please provide us some tasks so we can do something by ourselves. Then you can review because when you are doing it, it seems so easy. Because I'm teaching it, that's why it seems so easy. What if I were to sit for the exam? I wouldn't know. All right. Okay. I might be as panicky as you are. Okay. All right. So we have a lot of, like I said, these are the points that I may write. Okay. We have like other points as well. Okay. Perhaps you want to write on this. That would be very good. What can you say about this particular project overrun? Anyone want to try? You can just try. I give you like 5 minutes to actually do it. How would you write the cost for project? Maybe underestimate and possible loss and cost overrun. So you can you try on this? It's 10:48. Get back to you in another 5 minutes to see what you have written. So are you all trying out? Still waiting for you all to post some of your answers. Okay, some of you tried. Okay, these are some of the work. Okay, okay. So you are seeing that, okay, we are supposed to be looking at the cost for the project, maybe underestimate a possible loss cost overrun. Okay, some of you have already submitted this. Okay, I'll have a look at it. Anyone else? Okay, no one else? Okay, let's have a look at what's, okay, some of you have already tried. Okay, you are putting here as we need to, okay, as we need to expand the scope of the work. We have to keep satisfied all the stakeholders. In order to keep them satisfied, it will incur extra costs which can overrun the cost. Okay, I would ask you, so what is it that actually, okay, you need to actually do here? Remember, we are talking about, yes, you did mention a little bit about scope of work. Yes, you did mention about keep satisfied all the stakeholders. In order to keep them satisfied, it will incur extra costs, which can overrun the cost. Okay, what do you mean by this? one thing is that your answers did not apply to the case. Your answers is kind of general, all right? So you need to be specific to CC, you need to be specific to the construction road in Beetle, all right? This is something that you need to actually emphasize in this particular question. How are you going to actually put that together? If you look at how I write, okay, remember it is found that the return for this construction of road in Beetle would give CC a return of 9.5%. Okay, how are you two going to actually change this to make sure that, okay, you apply to the context of the case? So how is it? Okay, I have, okay, this is what your friend has already like, written, and I've already like reconstruct it, okay, to put in, okay, how it should actually be applied in the context of the case. Okay, what you have written earlier was something that's too general and it's not tied up to the case. Okay, so basically this is what I've already written, okay, to see how you actually tie that particular points to the case. Okay, so I did mention about the construction. I need to mention about CC. So after that, you mentioned that, okay, this is good. This is actually good. The one that is the number 2 here. All right, this is actually good. All right, you're almost there. Okay, and to keep satisfied, okay, CC has to pay compensation to communities, which will, okay, it's good if you can mention here communities who are affected by their work. Okay, who are affected by their work. Basically, their construction work. Okay, which will increase in cost. Is it right? Yes, you can mention that. That's good. That's good. That's a good point. All right. So it's either you do it like what I have already done up here, or you may want to talk about this particular compensation to communities who are affected by the work. That is actually superb. All right. So you're almost there, right? And I think that all of you can actually do it. All right. So you see, the moment that I probed into you, okay, making you actually write, and then finally when I said so, and you are able to give me a better answer, you see that's what you're actually supposed to be doing with your own writing. All right. As you read, as you write, okay, a good exercise is that when you write, all right, you reread it again and see if you yourself think that, why am I saying this? I should be writing more. So it means that you have not written enough, right? That means your explanation is not clear. Even you yourself feel that you need to write more. That means you should actually be writing more. So I hope by now you are able to see how actually the answers should actually be written. Okay, so down here will be on the non-financial issues. Okay, basically talk about scope of work to build road may not be as planned because previously it was a flat and now they have to think about the mountain. So they may require people with experience or whatever that you would want to mention. Okay, this is what I put here, need experience. If you can put these particular points together, and it's good if you are able to have it together. All right. Okay. What about, okay, that is actually done with the analysis skill. All right. So basically the second part here is actually talking about what skill was it? I still have to refer back to the question. Okay. All right. This one is commercial acumen discusses. Okay. So how should you actually be writing on this? Commercial acumen wants you to demonstrate awareness. All right. Wants you to actually demonstrate awareness. Okay, you use judgment, show insight. So basically that's how you should actually be writing on this particular difficulties CC may face in fulfilling the criteria. Okay, how should actually your sentence be? So what was the criteria mentioned in the exhibit? Okay, the question mentioned about, okay, the exhibit mentioned about the low cost. If you still remember this one, okay, talking about low price, right? Raw price will be an important criterion when choosing the contractor. We shall also want the contractor to carry out the work efficiently with its timetable being as short as possible. So they want it to be completed fast. All right. So when they want it to be completed fast, so that is actually a big challenge for whom? It's actually a big challenge for CC, isn't it? So how are you going to write that? Question is actually asking you on discusses the difficulties CC may face in fulfilling the criteria stated by Desmond Otiano, the Transport Minister of Beetle. Okay, at this particular point, okay, you have to actually apply a little bit of your senses. Okay, at this particular stage, when you are answering this question, has that particular contract been awarded to anyone? Not yet, right? So when you read that particular exhibit, they just mentioned that the criteria on how they choose contractor, okay, but they did not actually mention, okay, who they are. So basically now, okay, if you are writing for this particular question, you must have in mind that CC actually have not got that particular contract yet. All right, they are about to send a tender so that they are able to get that particular contract. So you may want to start writing by if, let's say, CC were to, okay, get that particular contract. Okay, you may want to have easier for you to see if CC were to be given the contract, it would be quite difficult for CC to fulfill the criteria mentioned by the Minister of Transport in Beetle. What did I write? Right, hold on. Okay, if CC were to be given the contract, it would be quite difficult for CC to fulfill the criteria mentioned by the Minister of Transport in, okay, by the Minister of Transport, okay, in Beetle. What's happening? Okay. This is because, all right, the Okay. What else can it? If the minister wants the price to be lower, CC would face difficulty, right, in construction of wood because may require more cost. Right? So you may want to mention that, okay, the quality of the road that is being actually, okay, CC would specifically is concerned of the road because building roads in mountain area may require more cost. Okay, this would affect the quality of road built by CC. Okay. How does that help you? Okay. So this is what you have. Okay. Your friend did mention, let me just put some of the answers, okay, given by your friends. If the project is made under low cost, CC has to cut prices on its material and labor, which will increase the wastage level, and construction efficiency will also decline due to less skilled labor. Yes, you can. That's good. Okay. Or you may want to say that, okay, if the project is made under low cost, CC has to cut prices on its material and labor, which will increase the wastage level here. What do you mean by wastage level? This is something, the answer is good, but it's good if you are able to spell out, okay, in detail what you mean by wastage level here. Right? Be specific. Okay? What do you mean by wastage level in the context of the CC? And construction efficiency will also decline due to less skilled labor. Okay. What do you understand by less skilled labor in the context of building a road? So do spell it out, okay, clearly on that. All right, so that, okay, it will be very specific, that I wouldn't be asking you what do you mean by skilled labor, less skilled labor in this context. So make sure your skilled labor that you explain is directly related to the construction. All right, and the type of wastage that is in the construction, okay, of roads. So if you are able to spell that out, okay, it will be perfect. Okay, you got it already. All right, that's good. Some question, can we post question here or over WhatsApp? Okay. Well, it's up to you. If you want to post question here, you can post question here. If I can answer it here, I will answer it here. If not, then we can have further discussion in the WhatsApp group. All right. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. And we can have further discussion after the webinar. All right. So even okay until you want to sit for your exam. All right. We can still have this particular discussion. You are just like my students that I have in class, okay? Don't worry about that, okay? They will not be able to complete the construction in the required time. Yes, thank you. That's the nice answer. So that's good. Be specific in that sense, okay? If you're able to do that, that's superb, right? So any more questions? Okay, we only have 10 minutes to go, right? It seems that we are still here with our September 2018. Okay. What about skepticism? I'm not quite worried about other skills because other skills can easily be demonstrated by you, okay, having your what, okay, you have your what, your why, and your how. All right. What about in the context of skepticism? Okay, how actually would you demonstrate that particular skepticism in answering your examination question, right? So question number 2 is actually testing you on skepticism skills, isn't it? Okay. How would actually you write so that, okay, you are actually demonstrating your criticism skills. Sorry, skepticism skills. All right, so I think here is already like about 11:22 at night, almost to midnight. Okay, I'm sure that you is still young there. Okay, so how are you going to write for skepticism? How would your kind of writing be different? What is it that you may want to write? So this is actually a memo, all right, to Oliver. First thing that you may want to tell is to say thank you to him for preparing it. Basically, that's your introduction. You are not going to get marks for technical marks for this, but you are going to get professional marks for that. All right, so that will be actually part of your professional marks. If like the way that you start writing, okay, you have your memo, and then after that your introduction will be, before you start with your comments, you tell him thank you. Okay, that will actually give you a professional marks. Okay, and then when it comes to the content itself, right? So basically, you may want to say that, okay, the PID, okay, sorry, okay, PID prepared is rather good. Okay, you see that, and it does gives the picture about the project to be undertaken. All right. So can you see that I start with saying something that is actually good, but then whatever, okay, however, there are several key points that are not in this PID, which should be given some attention. Okay, so then I may want to start with what? Okay, PID should contain a purpose. Okay, so or you may want to mention up here. Okay, so it okay. As follows. All right, then you may want to put the first one as purpose. All right. Okay, so even okay, even if your prepared by you, okay, how's the PID prepared by him? Then you may want to look at number 4 just now. Thus, give some background of the project. However, it did not spell out the purpose. The purpose of the project, which is crucial. Okay, so basically this is what you do. All right, crucial in what context? Crucial in informing. All right, the in crucial in informing the overall intentions of undertaking this project. All right, so basically this is how it should actually be written. So hopefully you can try it out. All right, if you think that you have some ways of writing it, and then okay, and then ma'am, we didn't done how to construct the answer. Okay, don't worry about this. Okay, so I'll be showing you just a bit of this, but if let's say later on, okay, I know webinar is just 10 hours, it wouldn't be that much. I will continue with doing this with you, and we'll continue with other things as well. I think we are given only like, well, just have to say good night to all of you. It's almost 11:30 already. I've got another minute left. So we can continue after this with the WhatsApp group for those of you who are already in the WhatsApp group. All right. So if you have not and you want to be in the group, you just let me know. I think I've already given you the number. Okay. So I can continuously actually give you and guide you in the way that you answer. Perhaps you can actually send some in the WhatsApp group that we can actually look at together, and I can actually give you feedback together. Okay. So hopefully you learn something tonight, and I hope that, okay, I give you some rough idea. I will try and complete and give you some of it, and I will post this inside the WhatsApp group. All right. Okay, see you all tomorrow night, and I hope that you have a good night's sleep. All right. All the best to you, and good night.